Brandon Yanis here and with Sunglo, and I've got big cat Kevin Thomas alongside me of Thomas Show Pigs, and we want to talk a little bit about mixing feed on farm. And I know that particularly in your part of the country, it's maybe not as I guess as prevalent as what we have in our part of the country with having corn on farm, maybe mixer and being able to do that. But talk to us a little bit about why that fits into your operation and some of the reasons that you do that.
Well, just strictly bottom line, when you're looking at production cost and when you're running a show pig operation, you look at all your fixed cost, whether it's vaccines or what have you. I was trying to figure out a way to improve my margins for profit, and when I started looking at the pricing of, either the co-op for sow feed or we were sack feeding it, I did the numbers to it. It was a sure big cost difference for us. So that's kind of why we moved to that. Like you said, it's not as prevalent in Texas, but a lot of guys that have kind of watched what I'm doing are starting to do it, just because if you do have a tractor, you've got some equipment around, it's really easy, and it's really added a lot to our bottom line on our operation.
And there also gives you a little more flexibility from not only a medication side, but maybe other additives or whatever that you may want to go ahead and plug in something or do small batches. What have you found yourself doing maybe that's helped your operation out?
Well, I still think, with having a good relationship with your vet and getting your VFDs, we can still run our production where our gilts or our sows we're breeding, we're still using CTC. I think it really, we did a year without it. I think I can really tell our conception rates are higher. I know as far as the baby pig feed, we're using Denegard Plus, another VFD. We did start a boar stud this last year, and so it's gave me the flexibility of creating those boar feeds, those higher fat, higher protein feeds, more generally towards them. Like our sows, when we start, we can put some CTC and run them in the farron crate. So it's just gave me flexibility, whether it's we're feeding bearish for my kids, boar stud, our sow feeds, and with those VFDs, it just gives us flexibility to feed all those different species that we truly don't have in Texas availability. As far as distribution in my part of the state, it's a little harder for me to go get 6 or 7 bags of this or 10 bags of that. So it gives me the flexibility to create whatever feed I need for whatever we're doing.
You brought up a great point about the boar stud side of it, the sow side of it, baby pigs, and your kids' barras. As you transition and navigate through the Sunglo lineup, what do you see as you go through there that's beneficial, or why does it work for you?
Well, and I'll be honest with you, that was our biggest concern. That was my biggest concern, is because I never want to take a cut on genetics. I never want to take a step back on nutrition, and I was really a little apprehensive. So we started out grinding sow feed and then started tinkering with the show feed, and my daughter was truly competitive, and at first she was a little leery, and we were we good enough to build a feed, or why do we want to do it when they've already gotten a sack? And it's just so simple. When we went to doing that, you could have sack feeds, and I'd even trial. I'd go look at a sack feed off the counter, and I'd do what I'm looking, I'd look at it and just say, hey, are we creating the same product? But when we went to feeding it, she graduated in college now, and I don't think we'll have a sack of feed on there. It's an easy process. It's almost where it's so simple, it's scary sometimes how easy it is to build those feeds.
And I think sometimes there's some knowledge out there that people think if it's not in a pellet, it can't be a premium product. I mean, when you're able to do that on farm, sometimes you're able to hit more sectors than what you can when it's already in a sack.
Well, that's real big in our country. Well, all those lease gilts will come back from those customers in March, and I'd put them on HP 98, just a commercial, kind of generic base ration that anybody can get a hold of. And those show gilts coming back 30 days on a sow feed would actually look better than they did coming off of people's trailers with shavings in them. So, once you get through that, but I think a lot of the mentality has changed over the last 3 to 5 years. I think with the availability of the market shares y'all picked up, that people are more comfortable feeding a ground ration than they were maybe 5 years ago.
Yep. And the neat part about that is, you're kind of taking it a full service deal. You're running the boar stud deal. You have the sows there. You're making your own sow feed, boar feed. feed the babies that deal and you transition your kids' show pigs, as you work through that, what would you tell a lot of people as they get things home? Because you've gotten to see a lot of those different transitions from stage to stage in production. What's one of the benefits that you see within our lineup by staying in the lineup?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it's when you get people to first start feeding it, it almost makes them feel lazy, because that feed feeds so true and dense. It doesn't take as many pounds, and you don't have to add as many side cuts in it. And when you tell a customer or a kid or your child, we just need 2 cups of 16G, and they look at the board and like, well, are we not adding this? Are we not adding that? Are we not doing this? And customers will call me and say, are you sure that's what we need to be on? But the feed just feeds denser and truer, and you don't have to cut it and do as much with it. And so if you're not familiar with the Sunglo program, you almost scratch your head sometimes, is that all we need to do, you know? And that's been the biggest change for me at our house.
Well, again, we really appreciate you stopping by and sharing some information with you and with us and what fits into your operation and program. And again, we appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you down the road.
All right, thank you, man.
This is a Walton Webcasting production. Livestock like you've never seen before.